Friends, Jordan Montgomery here, and we're glad that you've tuned into another episode of the Growth Over Goals podcast. Before we jump into today's conversation, we want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Thompson & Co. Salon and Parlor. Thompson & Co. Salon and Parlor is a family-owned, stylist-owned community salon that fits the needs for all types of families. Located in downtown Iowa City and now a second location in Coralville, North Liberty area, TCO specializes in all things hair. In fact, that's where I've been getting my hair done for the last 7 years. TCO specializes in hair cutting, razor cutting, the most modern color techniques, and high-end hair extensions. As one of Iowa's only intercoiffure salons and Salon Today's top 200 salons in the U.S., TCO looks forward to being the salon of choice for you and those you love. Be sure to call or book on their website today at thompsonandcosalon.com. Thank you, TCO, for all you do for us and our community. Welcome back to the Growth Over Goals podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Montgomery, and today I am with my dear friend, one of the all-time Hawkeye basketball greats, three-time NBA champion, former NBA All-Star. Teammates with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, former NBA executive, now agent with the Wasserman Group, represents some of the top athletes in the world. Man, I love his spirit, love his energy. We've connected over this past year, and I've just really come to enjoy my good friend BJ Armstrong. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, man, it's been a long time coming. You're so kind with your words. I really appreciate it. And I enjoy you because we always have heated discussions, and I love it. And hopefully we can capture that on air because I enjoy the conversation because of the passion that you bring for what you do. And more importantly, you know, you have this appetite to learn. You have this curiosity to share. And it's such a great energy to be around. So thank you. And again, thank you for having me as a guest here today.
Well, I value that we can be laughing hysterically 1 minute and then having deep conversation the next. And,
oh gosh, yes.
That's what it's all about. So, man, I've just come to appreciate you as a person. So many know BJ Armstrong, the basketball player, the businessman, especially in the great state of Iowa. Many people are going to attach your name to the sport of basketball. I just know you as a friend and as a thought leader. Tell our audience something that they might be surprised to know about BJ Armstrong.
Well, tell you something that you'd be surprised. You don't have to be surprised, but I take value every day in learning. That's like my number one thing. Every day I got to learn something. And everyone I try to come in contact with, I want to learn something from that person. And I had a coach, a teacher, someone told me this once. They said, you can't learn if you're talking. So here I am talking right now, but you can't learn. So you have to listen if you want to learn. And one of the biggest things I try to improve on every day is to listen to people. Not just talk to people and just get an automatic response, but to listen to that person and try to fully understand their perspective. And if you listen to people, you know, they'll tell you a lot. And so I try to spend way more time listening than I do in talking, because learning, as I learned, you can't learn if you're talking. So I think one thing people will be surprised who don't know me is I spend most of my time listening to other people because I just want to learn. I just love listening. Yeah. And I don't have to agree with what you're saying, but I am trying to perfect that. That's one of the things I'm trying to perfect in my life, is to be a phenomenal listener.
So I want our audience to know that is true of who you are. And I've experienced that just being around you in conversation. I do think you have an open mind, and your spirit is one that says, man, I could learn from anyone, anywhere. John Wooden has that famous quote, you know, it's what you learn after you know it all that counts. And I think that quote embodies you, man, because you have been successful in so many areas of life. You have a lot of knowledge and insight, but you're quick to ask questions. And I think two things happen when you do that. Number one, you do learn, but number two, you encourage people, because
Right.
one of the greatest compliments you could give to somebody is just to ask for their opinion. And so you make people feel valued and appreciated by how you engage. So that might be surprising to some. It's not surprising to me because I know you that way.
Right.
By the way, shout out Coach Brendan Sir, who got us connected.
Yes. Yes.
What's up, Coach? Love Coach.
You have to put the great Brendan Sir. You
The
can't just
great
say
Brendan
you
Sir.
can't say Coach Sir. You have to say the great Brendan Sir. So shout out to
Brendan
Coach.
Sir,
Shout out
yeah.
to the coach.
And Brendan shares that with you, and you share that in common, asking questions, constantly want to learn. Hey, let's take it back to the college days, can we?
Yes, absolutely.
For all the Hawkeye fans who are tuning and listening in, they remember you making great plays on a basketball court. You played on some of the greatest teams in the history of University of Iowa. Decorated career at Iowa. You were a stat sheet filler. This is a leadership podcast, and I know that you learned a lot in your college days. I think you valued your time at Iowa City. I want to know, what is the greatest leadership lesson that you learned during your time at the University of Iowa?
Well, if I can take you back to a young kid, in the mindset of where I was at that particular time, I was like most young people who go or have an opportunity to advance, meaning they go from playing high school basketball to maybe playing collegiate basketball. You go from being the best maybe in your area, right? You go to best. I was from the state of Michigan. So I was one of the best players in the state of Michigan, one of the best players in my little area, probably the best player on my high school team. So with that comes a false sense of security of, well, I'm the best. So of course I'm going to go to University of Iowa and I'm going to be the best. But you forget that all those other kids who are coming, they're the best in their area, and they're coming from California, and they're coming from Georgia or Louisiana or wherever it's Illinois. And then now all of a sudden you drop all of these young people with no experience. We're all very inexperienced players. We're inexperienced at competing at elite levels, especially at the collegiate level. And for the first time, you're playing now where there's a business component to the game that's far superior than anything you ever imagined in high school or your club team or wherever you played at. So I get dropped off at Iowa, and you say, what was the first thing I learned? Well, suddenly I had to figure out the other 12, 13 guys had the same mindset that I had. Because all of these guys were the best player on their team. All of these guys were McDonald's All-Americans. All of these guys thought, or they're thinking the same thing. I'm thinking, well, I'm just going here before I go to the NBA. But then you realize the NBA is really, I mean, that's like a 0.01% chance of doing that. So what's going to separate me from all these other guys? And these guys are all really, really good. So my first leadership lesson was, first, I got to know myself better than anybody else. And the only way I can learn who I was is I gotta fail. I have to fall down and have the essential quality that makes a person successful. You have to have the determination and the toughness to fall down and get back up, right? We can call it grit, whatever you want to call it. So the very first thing that I learned was, okay, I have to realize that I have to fall down, because that's the only thing that's going to separate me from the rest of the pack. Some people, their fear will get the best of them and they won't try. Some people will get in their heads and be like, well, what if I miss? Well, the coach played me.
Yeah.
So I made my point was, you know what? The only way I'm going to really know how to get to where I want to go is I cannot be afraid to fail. So failure was the one thing that I was looking, because I knew that if I was self-correcting without the correction of others, I was going to have a chance. I learned that like the first day, because everyone was good. I get to campus, everyone was good. It wasn't a difference between me and the next guy, other than the fact that I was willing to like take the shot. I didn't know if I was going to make it, but I know I can increase my chance to make it if I just kept practicing the shot.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah,
where the other person may, didn't want to take the shot, maybe didn't have the discipline. We could talk about other things, but the thing I learned is I needed an internal toughness that was failure was just not an option here. Okay. There was no backup plan. There was no plan that I was going to say, well, if I don't play well today, there'll always be tomorrow. No, I had to figure out how to get it done. And I had to figure out how to get it done now in real time. So that was what I learned on day one. And from there, I just kept that. I kept toughness was at the center of everything still to this day, what I do, right? Some people have a lot of talent. Some people have more talent than me. However, there's one thing that I'm going to eliminate from any type of competition. No one's going to be tougher. I'm taking that equation out. There is no,
come on.
There is, it's one thing being from Detroit. We always say, the only way a fight will end is if you don't get back up. That's the only way to fight. So when you see me, that's the first thing. Forget the game. You're going to be in a fight, first of all.
Come on. Yep.
Okay. And that to me was that's who I am today. You're going to be in a fight. Every negotiation, you're going to be in a fight. There is no like, well, what will happen if this happens? No, we're going to establish that immediately. And then from there, we can take it wherever it needs to go, right? Skill level, preparation, all those other things. But I'm going to establish in the first quarter, you're going to be in a fight. And that has served me since the beginning, right? I grew up, I didn't even know toughness was a thing until I got to like college. However, I just thought everybody played a little rough. I didn't know that was like a rough thing, like the bad boys thing. Growing up in Detroit, I remember when playing against the Pistons and they were like, oh man, this team plays physical. I was like, where? Like, where's the physical play? Because that's how we all played in Detroit. The bad boys.
So used to it.
That's how we all play, right? Like no one called a foul, no one, if you went to the basket and you didn't get hit, you were like, what's going on with these people? Where are they from? So this is just how we played. I mean, literally, that's how we played.
I love it, man.
That was my first lesson that I learned. And I didn't really recognize that until I got out of Detroit. That's who and what I was really all about. It has to be a level of toughness that you got to bring to everything that you do.
Internal toughness and the decision to fail forward and keep learning. Learn you did, fail forward you did. In fact, you failed so well and learned so much that you ended up being a first-round draft pick in the 1989 NBA draft, selected 18th. You talked about the small fraction of 1% of basketball players from the collegiate level that go on to the NBA. You ended up in that fraction of 1%. And you didn't just get drafted. You go on to be a 3-time NBA champion. You were selected as an NBA All-Star. You played with some of the greatest to ever play the game. You were one of the greatest to ever play the game. Decorated career in the NBA. What was the greatest leadership lesson that you took from your playing days as an NBA athlete?
Well, I had to, it's not just one person. And I think anyone who's had an opportunity, I don't even think it's so much achieving success is a lot of things have to happen right in your life to get there. So, and I owe teachers, I owe friends, I owe coaches, I owe my parents, I owe my relatives, because all of this had to happen for me to be prepared for that moment. So what is the so many things have to happen right in your life to achieve. And so I'm forever grateful. Like humility is probably the only way I think you can escape this world, right? Because everyone's a superstar. Everyone, you say all of these things, right? I would love to tell you that I did those things. No, I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. And I was just doing my job. Okay. They paid me to do a job. and I did it to the best of my ability. Some days I was better than others, but I can assure you then, I can assure you now, I did the very best I could every moment. Every moment I did that's what I did. Now, the one thing that I learned about leadership that is, as in business term, it's a non-starter. And I learned this every step of the way. Once you lose your confidence, you never get it back. Okay. I can have an off shooting week. I can work on that. I cannot play well. I can watch film, practice, get better. I play against Jordan. He's a little stronger than me. I can get in the weight room and get a little stronger. I play against player X. He's faster than me. Maybe I can work on my footwork, get a little quicker. However, once you lose your confidence and your belief in yourself, you never get that back. Is it okay? All of you can go listen to the greatest motivational speeches. You can do all those things. Once you lose your confidence, that's the one leadership quality that you have to have. When things are looking the worst. Okay. And I've been in the locker room when I've been down 30 and we lose by 40. I've been in the locker room and I've been down 30 and we've came back and won. Okay. And the only difference was I never lost confidence and belief in myself, no matter what the outcome was. I never was as good as they said I was. I never was as worse as they said I was. However, I had an internal belief and an internal confidence that has never wavered.
So BJ, how do you light for a leader listening and maybe specifically young leaders listening, and they're hearing this and they're going, okay, well, how do I continue to light the fire of internal belief? Like, what's the practical application? What can I do to make sure that I don't lose my confidence?
I would love to tell you that I could package this up and tell you how it is. I could love to tell you that when I got to the NBA that I was prepared for the NBA. I would love to tell you when my parents dropped me off in Iowa City that I was prepared for the Big Ten. I would love to tell you that when my wife and we had our first child, that I was prepared for that. I want to pretend like I was prepared for everything in my life and that I got this secret formula and I can go around and telling people, oh yeah, this is how I did it. Simple as that. But and the truth of it is, I don't have those answers. Okay. That
it's a real response. Yep.
The truth is I was not prepared for those moments. However, I was prepared for the challenge.
Ooh, it's good.
Okay. Look, we have 3 kids. Every day it's total chaos. We're just trying to get through this thing, as you know. And anyone who's listening that has kids, you can pretend to be calm. You can pretend that everything's great. And you can pretend like your life is perfect. Okay. And I don't care how much money you have or how much money you don't have. We all have the same problems here.
Yep.
And the thing is, some of us just call it like we see it. And I'm just calling like I am prepared for the challenge, though. Now, the challenge is okay, when things come and the bills keep coming and all of that stuff comes, people like yourself, people like myself, we going to find a way. And that's you got to have the internal confidence when you're down 20 and you come in the locker room and the coach says, okay, we had a bad half. As they say, stuff happens in life, as you know. However, the internal leader goes, hey, this is how we're going to win the game. One guy can come in and scream and say, you guys stunk it up and da-da-da. And the other guy can say, okay, things happen. Here's how we're going to win the game. Now let's get it done. That's the confidence that you have to exhibit. And that's what makes the NBA game the greatest game, is because you can't fake confidence for an 82 game schedule. It's too many games. Okay. You can't fake that for 100 plus games. You can get away with it because you got more talent in a 30 game schedule, or if you're the best player in your region. But for 82 plus games, 100 games you're going to play, if you get, if you're fortunate enough to go to the NBA finals, you can't fake the confidence. Steph Curry can't fake the confidence that he has in taking a three. Either you have it or you don't. Will he make every shot? No, believe it or not. Is he prepared to make every shot? Absolutely.
So good. So
and
good.
That's what he has. So your preparation for the tough moments, I just call them transition moments, because people know who's confident in what they do and what they say and who's not. It's kind of like being on camera. The camera doesn't lie.
Yep.
And I live out here in LA, Hollywood. The camera doesn't lie. Either you have it or you don't have it. But we all know it when we see it. But none of us can really tell you what it really is. You get it?
That's right. That's good. That's so true, man. I love what you said. You said two things, really. I think you said a lot about preparation, that the preparation matters, that you're prepared for the challenge.
Yes.
I also love what you said. You mentioned preparation, and then really you mentioned focused on solutions, that you're focused on figuring it out. There's a toughness. There's a mentality of I will get through this. I'll find a way. And I think you're right, man. I think people who thrive in this life, whatever it is, sports, business, family, I think you have a mentality where you're prepared for what life comes at you, what life throws at you. I think you're also prepared to figure it out. I know people want to ask you about stories, right?
Yes.
Like I know that your entire life, people say, "Oh, BJ, take us to the locker room, man. Take us to the, take us behind the scenes. Take us to the bus. Take us to the court. Maybe the practice gym. Not everybody had access." And so I would love to hear a story or two, but in the context of, who is the best leader, or one or two of the best leaders that you've ever played with, and what did you learn from them?
Yeah, being in that locker room, and the reason I don't share many stories about that locker room, because there is an integrity that has to be in that locker room.
Yep.
Okay. Every leader understands this, and let's make this clear to your audience and to the people listening here. There is no leadership. There is no leadership without the relationship, and every relationship is based on trust.
Yep.
Okay. Every relationship is based on trust. If there's no trust, there can be no relationship, let alone leadership. Just doesn't happen. We live in a society, and when you're in a locker room and you are committed to the most important thing with any group, I don't care what group you're in, right? You work at Goldman Sachs, you work in University of Iowa, you work in Sony Record, wherever, okay? There has to be a unity of thought. There has to be a unity. So in basketball terms, here was our unity of thought. Championship. Now, whatever else you got going on, all right, we all got problems in our individual life, right? We all got problems. Some of us want more shots. That's fine. That's fair. Some of us want to get more rebounds. Some of us may have in our contract to get more assists, more steals. The coach may say, if I win a certain amount of games, I get a bonus. There's a lot of individual things, but there has to be a unity of thought. And if there's a unity of thought, then all these great leadership or great leaders have to they have to abide by the rule of a group, which is there is no group without internal leadership. Okay. You may have a guy who has the title of president, but that might not be the internal leader of that group. You may have a guy who may be the best player in basketball terms who's on the team, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's the leader of the group. The group has to police itself. That's called internal leadership. That's the one thing that I have learned in my life, right? I'm 56 now, is I don't look for one leader because that doesn't exist. If you really want to know the truth of it is this: internal leadership is the leadership that is absolutely necessary for the success of any group. My family, it's an internal leadership. Not my wife, of course, she has the biggest say so. However, we all have to play our part. Everybody, right? All of us play our part within this group. The leader of the group has to demand that you do three things. The group has to be accountable and responsible for the actions of the individuals in the group and their teammates. Okay. We have to police ourselves. If the coach has to come in and say, "Hey, Jordan, BJ was open. You got to pass him the ball." That group will never win.
Yeah.
They won't succeed because the group will say, "Jordan, that's not how we play here." The group will say that.
Yep.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay. That's the first thing. The second thing that is absolutely necessary to leadership is it has to have discipline. Whatever you were doing on another team, whatever you're doing in another company, whatever you were doing before you got here, whatever you're doing after here, doesn't matter. This is how we do it here. And that requires the discipline necessary that we all know how we do things here. Because it's a unity of thought here. What's the thought? Win. I don't need the coach to give me some speech before the game. I don't need one guy to be a hero. I need the group to say, whether you play or you're scoring 35 points a night in basketball terminology, the group has to have the discipline necessary, and it has to hold itself accountable and responsible. Yeah. The third thing, which is essential to the group, is this group has to have a certain spirituality about itself where their intentions have to always be right, because we all know that failure is part of the journey. Okay? The most vulnerable times for a successful group is when you're successful.
Truth.
When we won 10, 11 games in a row, that's when we were the most vulnerable. So success is what makes you lose your discipline. Success is what you have a little slippage. Now you're not as accountable. Well, we won 10 games in a row. I can get away with this. So you're always the most vulnerable is when things are good.
So
as
true.
One of my favorite coaches, Coach Serve and Coach Chuck Daly, when I play for them, never trust success. Never trust happiness, as Coach Daly would always say.
That's so good.
Never.
You're so right. Yep.
Yeah, that's when you're most vulnerable.
Yep.
How you doing? Oh, everything's great.
Yep.
You're not as sharp. Coach Daly and Coach Serve, never trust happiness. Never trust success. Never trust when you're on a winning streak. Never trust it. Never, ever. Like to this day, like people will say, "Oh man, you've had all the success." I don't trust it. It matters. I see it, but I can't trust it because I know what's on the other side of that.
So good, BJ.
I didn't fell down so many times that I know what's on the other side. I know how hard it is to win at anything in life, let alone a basketball game. It is hard out here to win. It's hard out here to be successful. People are living life and everyone knows how difficult this thing is. So when you understand that, then you look at it from a totally different lens. So those are the three things. Those are the lessons that I've learned. And more importantly, I've learned from experience, right? I've been on great teams. I've been on not so good teams, but I was a part in each and every one of them. So I knew I wasn't as good as they said, but I knew I wasn't as bad as they said when we only won 25, 30 games, right?
Yeah.
But I always knew and understood why we were good and why we were bad. And those three things they were always there. They were always there. Accountability and responsibility. If you're on a bad team, you know exactly what I'm saying. The group there's no accountability there. But if you're on a good team, practice starts at 10, everyone's there at 10. Yeah. There's a discipline. You don't shoot the first good shot you get. You shoot a great shot. This is the shot that we shoot here. It's a little different than the guy who's hot just comes down and jacks up a shot. And then the spirituality is your intentions have to be set. Are we playing to win? Are we playing to get numbers? Or are we just playing because we have a game? And the teams are winning. They know exactly why they're playing.
Yep.
And the teams that are losing, they know exactly why they're playing.
That's right.
Because you can see the intentions. No one talks about it, but everyone understands it. And so my leadership style is an inclusive leadership, right? You have to include everybody because the guy who doesn't play or the woman who doesn't play, that person has to be accountable to the group because practice is just as important as the game. Believe it or not, it's just as important. And if that person who's not playing doesn't practice well, the player who is playing is not going to be prepared for that moment when their moment of truth comes about. And you got to understand that. So that's my leadership style. And I would love to tell you that there was one person who stood out. No, there were teams that stood out. You got to have internal leadership, right? And the leadership, and one of the things that's never talked about in sports, especially today, is what is the relationship between a coach and a player, a mentor and the student. That is probably the most unique relationship you'll have in your life. The truth. And if you get a great mentor, it will save you a lifetime.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So the relationship of a mentor, a coach or an executive or a parent, a mentor-student relationship it's a critical relationship in anyone's life, especially a young person's life. So you have to value it and respect it to the highest degree because that mentorship, I mean, it's a powerful thing. So I take that relationship, and maybe sometime I was the mentor and I thought I knew, but secretly I was learning from that student.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a beautiful relationship. That's one I value. And that's how I came to the conclusion of this internal leadership, because you don't know, just as an individual, one of my favorite people of all time was the person who spoke the least. His name was Bill Cartwright. And we called him the teacher. And when I first got to Chicago, I didn't have any idea. I was like, well, how is he the teacher? He never talks. He wouldn't say anything. But when the teacher did talk, he said everything. He just mastered the art of timing.
Yeah.
Like if you talk too much, people just tune you out.
Yeah.
So, he had a lot to say, but it's like comedy. Some people have a comedic timing to say a joke and it's really funny. And then the person without the timing, you'll be like, the joke wasn't as funny. Some people just have this rhythm. And Bill Cartwright was one of the great leaders because he didn't say much. And that's the art to me, is when you learn how to speak through other people, then now you're a master at what you do. Because in an 82 game schedule, which is different than a college schedule, you got to learn how not to say anything.
Yeah, there's time. Well, they say knowledge speaks, wisdom listens.
Yeah, you gotta
and you gotta listen sometimes.
Yeah, you lost last night in Washington. We all know he played bad. I don't want to hear this guy coming in cursing me out, saying you guys didn't play. Okay, but you know what I do want to hear? I got confidence in you guys.
Yeah,
and we know that self-correcting people do best in life, right? We all, whether you believe it or not, it's an instinctive thing, right? You gotta take some responsibility in your part of whatever happened too, right?
Yes.
And so the leadership, it's so broad, this whole thing, leadership. But I think the people who don't say much, I gravitate to those people because they get it.
Yeah, come on.
They get it.
Come on. My friend Kevin Eastman says God gave us big ears and a small mouth. And he gave me big ears and a small mouth. So, man, you said so much there, BJ. That's a leadership masterclass. Truly, I know that you added so much value to people today. I want to underscore some things that you said.
Right.
You said you're never as good or as bad as you think you are. I want people to hold on to that. You also said knowledge speaks and wisdom listens.
Yes.
And I love what you said about really it's what you learn after you know it all that counts. It's about keeping an open mind. It's about having humility and character at the forefront of your leadership. And I love what you said about internal leadership, that the best teams are not coach-led, they're player-led.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you have to have a drive and you have to fight for accountability. Man, you've been on some of the best teams. You've led at such a high level, both in sports and business. I also love how you talk about your family, man, and prioritize your family. So thank you for bringing family into the conversation.
And like I said, you got to get lucky in a lot of things.
Come on, man.
You got to get lucky. It's truly like when you start looking at people and they achieve, the first thing is I go, let me peek behind the curtain. Let's look at the foundation of this.
Yep.
Let's look at the foundation, right? Yep. It's not an accident when you see people achieve to that level. It's not like, well, I worked hard and I slept for 8 hours and I read a couple books. No, that's not how it works. You know what? You have to have an incredible amount of, first of all, discipline.
Yeah.
But you have a foundation of people who are saying, you know what? No matter what's going to happen, Jordan, I believe in you. And to say and to believe in a young person, that's a powerful thing.
Amen.
Because to believe, just somebody believes in you is just a powerful thing. Like, I know you just missed the last 10 shots, but you know what? I'm going to draw this play up and we're going with you.
Coming back to you. Yep.
That's right. So to have someone that believes in you, to understand that even when you may not believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Because you can't lose your confidence. That's the one thing I've never seen someone lose their confidence and then get it back. Ever. I've never seen that. Like, I'm waiting on that. That's like a trick, right? I can't imagine being a boxer and then you lose your confidence in the ring. You're not going to get that back. Now it's like, oh, they lost it or whatever it is. Right? So confidence is the key. And to have people that believe in you and have a foundation and a family and all those people, it's the utmost importance, because no matter what, like when I come home, my daughter, they're the best. She's the best. my son, he doesn't care. He's like, hey, what's up, Dad? Let's get in the pool, man. You know what I mean? You're like, wait a minute, I want to sulk a little bit. He's like, hey, let's play Angry Birds. Let's go play some table tennis. He's like, remember, I beat you yesterday in Pac-Man. Let's go play this, Dad. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is we're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just like, it just puts it all in perspective. So, you know I'm supposed to be a father and all those things, a husband, but truthfully, I learn more from my kids, because here's the truth. It was what I realized this probably in my 40s is I'm raising kids in a world I really don't know anything about, because I didn't grow up with computers and stuff like these kids are.
Yeah, it's well said.
So how am I going to really tell them what Instagram and Twitter and a podcast is all about? I didn't grow up with this. So I'm pretending like I know what this is all about, when secretly I don't know. So, but that's just my secret.
It's good, man.
Don't tell my kids though. Don't tell my kids.
You're so right though about the foundation and staying grounded. Mark Batterson says, I want to be respected most by people who know me the best. And I know you're fighting for that. Man, I want to do this with you as we land this plane. Okay. We're going to go lightning round. Okay. You ready for this? Lightning round. The full round will last 90 seconds.
Okay. Let's do it.
You get one word, or I'll give you a sentence. You get a sentence.
Okay.
For each question. And we're going to go rapid fire. You ready?
Let's do it.
We'll have some fun with this. Here we go. BJ Armstrong in the lightning round. It begins now. Toughest player you ever played with or against?
Michael Jordan.
Smartest player you ever played with or against?
Michael Jordan.
Favorite Hawkeye memory?
First day on campus.
Favorite NBA memory?
First practice.
Describe The Last Dance.
Friendship.
Tell us your greatest business moment or memory.
I don't know.
Who is BJ Armstrong?
I don't know.
And finally, man, you talked about family. What does family mean to you?
Everything.
Bro, this has been such a joy. I appreciate who you are, man. You make me feel valued and appreciated and important. And that's, I think, just the energy that you carry with you. From the first time we connected and talked, made me feel valued. And
thank you.
That's a special part of who you are. And
thank you.
Special energy about you.
I say with great humility, I'm just learning. And I wish I've had an opportunity in my life to meet a lot of great people. Like great people, like people, without dropping names, like great people, great men. But I've met a lot of great people who weren't good people. I've met a lot of great people, achieved a lot. But that doesn't always mean that they were good people. Okay? So I've always in my life, I never wanted to be a great man. I just wanted to be a good man. Because I never met a good man who wasn't great. Okay? I've met a lot of great people. Heads of states, achieve. They're the top of the top. They got everything you could possibly want. That doesn't always mean they were good people, though. With no judgment. My whole life to going through this thing is always to remain one thing: be a good man. Be a good man to my family. Be a good man. Represent the University of Iowa, represent the city of Detroit, represent my family, my last name, be a good friend. But I've never met a good man who wasn't great. Every good man I've ever met, they were great people. They were great people.
Yeah.
And so that's always been my goal, is just to be, and I say that with great humility. And you got to have humility if you're going to be good at anything. And then if you're good at what you do, the other people will make you great, because it's truly the people, the reflection of yourself, that will give you great. You know what I mean? I'm never going to go around saying I'm great. And I learned that. I happen to play with a guy who should be considered the greatest, right? I don't know how you would ever say who's the greatest, but he should be considered one of the greatest to ever play. I never, ever heard him say, I'm the greatest. Never heard him say it. So when I hear people saying they're the greatest, I go, oh, like, humility is one word I haven't figured out how to get around. I can't say that with humility. I can't say that. So, that's an important word for me and our family in the Armstrong house is to have great humility in everything that we do.
Yeah.
And just try to, to be the best version of ourselves every day. Like I tell that to my kids, you know what? Your best is good enough for me. That's it.
Come on.
Your best is good enough.
Yeah. Well said, bro. Well, listen, man, you're humble, you're kind, you're talented. You're a dear friend. And
man, you're the best.
I appreciate the time.
Hopefully you'll have me back.
Hey, we will. We will run this back. And we have more great work to do in front of us. And we haven't even talked about this. Before our listeners, we're going to bring BJ back to Iowa City. You were just here, but we're going to get you back. And we have more to talk about.
Okay.
So if you live in the great state of Iowa, BJ will hopefully be back with us soon. Have an event coming up that we want him to be a part of. BJ, I'm going to be talking to you about that.
All right, I'm going to hold you to it.
Man, I just I value you, man. Value who you are. Value what you stand for. Man, thanks again for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
This has been another episode of the Growth Over Goals podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Montgomery. Thank you for listening. Thanks for being here. If you found any value in this episode, I would love it if you would rate, review, subscribe to this podcast in an effort that we might move our mission of impact forward. I also want to say thank you to our producers, John Choate and James Roth of Storyline Multimedia, for all of the work that they do behind the scenes to make this podcast go. Be well, be great. Have a wonderful day.